Sir, do we also take into consideration the present value of the scrap value which can be recovered?
Yes, definitely. Because let's say your project life is 10 years, so your scrap value will be recovered at the end of 10th year. We assume that it gets recovered at that very moment of 10th year, although it may actually take longer. It may take maybe 2 months to recover, 3 months to recover, depending upon what is the kind of project that you're talking. Supposing it's a steel plant, it has run for 40 years, and then after 40 year you are recovering the scrap value, so it won't happen in a day. It will take longer, but we assume for the simplicity of calculation, we are just simplifying for conceptual understanding. So at the end of 40 years, you will take present value to be discounted 40 times to arrive at the current value. So that has to be done. Likewise likewise uh, see, even the working capital will also get deployed. If you look at, when you begin a project, let's say you are already running 10 projects and you begin 11th project, so this 11th project will need some additional working capital. Now working capital is a component which you need it for for day to day working. But in spite of the fact
Maintenance
that
and
you
repairs.
maintenance and repair is maintenance and repair is taken care in your operational cash flows, because maintenance and repair is an annual component. So this gets deducted from your profit statement. So whatever cash flow from operations you are getting, that is already adjusted. But working capital is something different. Working capital is something that you need for business to run. So let's say you say roughly you need 10,000. So but when you say roughly you need 10,000, maybe sometimes you need 9,500, sometimes you need 10,000, sometimes you need 10,200. So there is a component of working capital that remains deployed. So supposing that level is 9,000. So this 9,000 is something that remains deployed for next 40 years because of this project, because this project needs to be running. So this 9,000 is also to be taken as deployed right in the beginning, as if is an investment. Because without this investment of this permanent working capital, you cannot run the business. And then it gets freed after 40 years, because now you no more need that working capital, because you have completed the project's life. So in that sense, these two components may also be taken. And so you take an investment outlay of permanent working capital, and you get a cash inflow at the end of 40 years, which is your working capital. So what you get at the end of the life has to be discounted by that much time period. So these adjustments are very much necessary, whether it is scrap value or it is a permanent working capital, because the timings of the flows are different. Am
Okay,
I?
sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yes. Anybody else? Feel free to ask whatever question is coming to your mind. That question may be very genuine, very important. Others will also benefit, and you will also clarify your doubts. Otherwise, if not, we move on. Should we? So that's what I was talking. So I have done a comparison between net present value method as well as payback period method. And as I said in the beginning, that payback period method gives generally a correct answer. Now, the question arises when it doesn't give a correct answer. It may not give a correct answer because of, let's say, if the cash flows are not same. See, investment is same, so in that sense, the projects are comparable, but their cash flows are different. So if the cash flows are different, in some cases, maybe payback period is not giving necessarily a correct answer. That I have already explained, uh, even with the help of payback period example itself, that if we only go by payback period answer, then we may make a wrong choice because we are ignoring cash flows which are happening after the payback period. And in one project, these may be substantial compared to the other. So the one where the cash flows are not so substantial after the payback period, but payback period is lower, you may tend to choose based on payback period method that particular project, but that will be a wrong choice, right? So in that sense, yes, at times payback period will give a wrong answer. And but as far as the net present value technique is concerned, both the limitations that we had in case of payback period method. So which are the two limitations we had? Number one, it ignores the cash flows after payback period. Number two, it ignores the timings of the cash flows during the payback period. The timings of the cash flow after the payback period in any case is not to be mentioned as a separate point, because those cash flow itself are ignored. But cash flows during the payback period, the timings can be different. In some one case, maybe more of cash flow is resulting in the beginning, and in other case, more of the cash flow is resulting at the end of or closer to the end of the payback period. So it does ignore both these. But if you look at the net present value method, it incorporates both the dimensions. Why? Because it is calculating the present value. So the cash flows which are resulting later but are higher will be discounted more, and cash flows which are resulting earlier, higher or lower, but will be discounted less. So in that sense, net present value method does away both the limitations or disadvantages of payback period method, but it also does away the advantage of payback period method. What was the advantage of payback period method? The advantage was that it is easy. But this method is no more easy, although it is not difficult for students of BCom honors third year. They can just work it out and they can understand. But for a lay businessman who is not trained into computation, who is trained into primarily his business sense, that person may find somewhat complexity introduced in calculation. So this complexity grows more as our scenario of business reality becomes more complex. Okay, now let's look at this example of net present value, and I want to discuss something additional in this. What is this additional that I am discussing? Look at this example. Example is very simple. We have used in this example 10,000 as our cash outlay or cash outflow right in the beginning at time 0, and 4,000 for each of the next 4 years. So it's like 16,000 cash inflows over 4 years and 10,000 investment in the beginning of the beginning of time, or that is current time. Now I'm using a discount rate of 10%. So when I use a discount rate of 10%, I get my net present value. The formula is inbuilt, because as I change my discount rate to 9%, my present value goes up, right? This is the example I was just describing. I think I've described in sufficient detail, so you can just follow. So I'm using a discount rate of 10% for this kind of a project to find out my net present value. And as we were using these terminologies, so this is my investment. We generally call it I0 to indicate that investment is taking place at time 0. If investment is not taking place at time 0, rather it is taking place, let's say, over a 3-year period. At time 0, some amount; at the end of first year, some more amount; at the end of second year, some more amount, and like that. So accordingly, you will write the investment component, and investment component will also get discounted, because all the investment is not happening at time 0. Okay, so these cash flows are being shown with a discount rate of 10%. Now, if I change my discount rate to 9%, my cash flows become my net present value becomes higher. Cash flows remain same, but my present value becomes higher, so my net present value also becomes higher. As I go down, it becomes more. So I go to 7%. Oh, sorry. I take it as 7%, it becomes still further. I take it 1%, it is still higher. I take it 0%. Right? So 0% is as if there is no discount that I've applied. So it tells me, the total cash flows as it is and the net present value. Now let me do a reverse exercise. I go higher. I take it 12%. I take it little more, let us say 17%. It is still a positive net present value. I take it further higher, 19%. It is still positive. Let's say I take it 23%. Oh, it becomes negative. So I take it, let's say 22%. It is still negative. I take it as 21%. It becomes positive. Can you see this working that I'm doing? See, I'm saying that I'm trying to find out when the net present value is 0. But somehow I'm not getting a full rate, right? If I use a fractional value, maybe I get something. So I'll just do it with the help of a different example. Where is that example? I think it's in my next sheet. Okay, before I go to the next sheet, let me just explain this one also. Look at what I was just working. This is, I have shown it with the help of a line on a chart. So this line on a chart shows me this point at this net present value. If my discount rate is 0, in this example, now this example is somewhat different. The example is cash investment is 15,000 and cash inflows are for 5 years, every year 4,000. So cash inflows are 20,000, but over different time periods, 4,000 rupees each of the year. So if my discount rate is 0, so if I change my discount rate to 0.0, okay, so that's my net present value. So that's what this diagram is showing, that at discount rate 0, my net present value is 5,000. But if I change this to higher value, 1%, oh, not 1%, sorry, 0.1%, 1% would mean 100%, 0.1, that is 10%. I'm getting 163, which is, let me highlight this value, which is here that I've highlighted in yellow. And if I'm using different rates, let's say I'm using 0.01. Okay, so I've done my calculations on different rates of discounts and I've calculated my net present values at different rates of discount. At 1%, 4,413, at 2%, 3,853, at 3%, 3,000, and like that. Okay, now, so I got these various values of net present value at different rates of discount and I plot it on a chart. So when I plot it on a chart, on the x-axis I am showing the discount rate and on the y-axis I am showing the net present value, and there is a point where my net present value is 0. At that point is somewhere in this example, somewhere between 10% and 11%. Because at 11% my net present value becomes negative and at 10% it is positive. So it is somewhere in between. So it is showing me this value here, right? I don't know the exact value here, but from this diagram I know that this value falls somewhere between 10% and 11%. So what is this value? We say this is that rate at which net present value becomes 0. Okay, so if you understand the concept of net present value, which is a first requirement, you can move to understanding this second important concept. What is that concept? To try to find out the rate where net present value is 0. Okay, so if you are able to find out that rate, which we are able to do with the help of this example in an approximate way, through the chart we know that this rate falls somewhere between 10 and 11%. So this rate is what we describe as the internal rate of return for that project. So that is your next important technique, which we call as IRR. IRR, internal rate of return, which is based on the concept of net present value. So it is very important that you understand the net present value technique. And if you understand the net present value technique, you can find out the rate at which net present value is zero. So if you are able to find out the rate at which net present value is zero, you are able to find out IRR, or internal rate of return. So the second example is, I think, also same. There is no difference except that it is colored. Okay, so I move on to the next sheet, next worksheet, which is this one. See, in this worksheet, I have tried to be more accurate in calculating my discount rate where net present value is zero. See, in this example, which is highlighted without any color, it is just black and white. So my net present value is coming to be 32 paisa, which is very close to zero, right? I was just trying to work out maybe little more closely. So if I increase the rate, slightly, right? I don't know whether it will get reflected here. Let's say I increase the rate to another half of the fraction. Yes, it is still closer. My net present value is now 13 paisa. So if I say it is not 5, but it is 6, it's very, very close. It's not even 1 paisa now, right? So it's almost zero. If I take it only up to 1 decimal, so that's the rate that I'm getting with the help of an Excel sheet, where at 10.4246% discount rate, my net present value of this project is zero. And therefore, I can say that in this case, my IRR is 10.4246%. Okay. That's an NPV. Anybody has any question on this? And we know in this very example, payback period I've just calculated here, it is simple. Let's move on to something next. And that something next is what I have highlighted in yellow color. There are 3 projects, and I expect you to answer it in the chat box. There are 3 projects: project A, project B, project C. And these 3 projects have this information given. What is the information given? Let me hide something. Okay. Yeah. What else is there? Yes. That's the information which is given. In the yellow color, project A, project B, project C. Internal rate of return is given. Now we understand the concept of internal rate of return. It is given as 11%, 19%, and 25%. And all the 3 projects have the life of the project as 10 years. Which of the project is better? Can we answer this question? Can we answer this question? Can anybody able to answer this question? Let me repeat slightly further. See, what we have done in this example is we have tried to understand how internal rate of return is calculated. And then with the help of this example, this next one, we have actually calculated the internal rate of return. Now, supposing, now in this case, my internal rate of return is coming out to be something like 10.4246%. Now, if my cash flows become different, let us say my cash flows become slightly higher, my net present value is not zero. That means the internal rate of return of this project would be somewhat different, would be higher. So let me try to calculate this. Let us say I take some rate 13%. It is still not zero. I take 14%. It is still not zero. I take 19%. Oh, it becomes quite negative. So that means it is somewhat lower. It is say 17. Okay. Let's say it is 16. Oh, was wrong. Originally, let's say I take it as 13%. So it was positive. Then I moved to 14%, 14 point something. Yes, it is still positive. But when I take 15, it's very close to zero, let us say, because it's just 7 rupees. Okay. We can do some adjustment here also. So in this project, which is different from the previous project, in previous project, the total cash flows every year were 4,000 for 5 years. In this case, in first year, it is 6,000. In rest of the remaining 4 years, it is 4,000 again. But for this project, my internal rate of return is 15.4246%. While in the previous example, when my project was having 4,000 rupees of cash flows every year, my internal rate of return was 10.4 some percent. In this case, it is 15.4 something percent. So these are like two different projects which are having different internal rate of return. So knowing the internal rate of return, can we say as to which project is better? Can we say which project is better? So that's my example highlighted in yellow color. We have three different internal rates of return. There are three different projects. Project life is same, but IRR is different. So can we say from this information as to which project is better? So I expect you to answer in the chat box. You got 2 minutes to finish. So you have your chance now. Do you want to take it? To know whether you're thinking on the right track? Can we answer? Do we need some additional information? If we need some additional information, what additional information we need? Anybody? Nobody wants to take a chance? That's the difficulty with studious people. Initiative is less. Risk taking is less. I'm not saying based on this example only. That's what the life teaches us. There are, rarely few entrepreneurs among the, technically competent or intellectually very studious. Okay, let me answer this question since you people are not, because then I want to finish this session also. See, I've already shown it here. That's what I am showing. See, we also need to take into account the discount factor. R only tells us the internal rate of return, but it is the discount factor which tells us what is going to be the what is going to be the net present value. So it is the net present value which is an important component here. Though we can calculate internal rate of return based on the net present value technique, but net present value becomes a very important information to compare the projects. Because look at the first case where the internal rate of return is higher. Now, let's say I slightly modify this example and I say, let's say the internal rate of return is 20 in third case. But the cost of capital or the discount rate is also higher, which is 17%. While in the case of second project, internal rate of return is lower than project C, but discount factor is also substantially lower, and therefore the gap between internal rate of return and what we call as the cost of capital or discount factor is also substantially lower. So the gap is much higher between R and K. So this gap is important to be able to compare the projects as to how much is the cost of capital or discount factor vis-a-vis the internal rate of return. And that's why internal rate of return, although it tells us the productivity of the project, but it says nothing about the risk of the project. Okay. If the risk is different, because earlier we were saying, similar projects. So when we are saying similar projects, although there also we are not taking into account the risk. So if we don't take into risk, we simply are judging on the basis of, we'll say higher the internal rate of return, better it is. But usually, as we know, returns never become higher without extra risk. So that component becomes important here. So I am calculating here R minus K, and then my investment I am taking as same. And given this information, my actually the second project appears to be better. Let us take another example which I have highlighted in this clay color. I think with or what I'll do is I'll stop here, take a 5 minutes break, and then we come to this next example.